So, you want to be a real estate investor, but where do you start? How do you know what information and sources to trust? That's where I come in. I'm Jonny Cattani, and this is the Investor Relations Real Estate Podcast. Hey guys, real quick, before we start, go to investwithcattani.com and download my free ebook, Is Commercial Real Estate Recession Proof? Now to today's show. What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Investor Relations Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Jonny Cattani, and I'm joined today by Pam Scamardo. Entrepreneur Pam is the founder of the C.R.E.A.T.E Wealth Network, the #1 free educational resource for commercial real estate investing. The organization's mission is to provide high-quality commercial real estate education for all, with an emphasis on uplifting women leaders in the industry. Officially job optional, Pam is a mother and wife who discovered the benefits of passive income while working in the aerospace industry. Pam, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Very grateful to have you. Exciting time for you. You are launching a new book, Create Wealth, how you can ditch the 9-to-5 with multifamily investing. Congratulations. I believe we're less than a month now from launch. Is that correct?
That is correct. So thanks for having me on. And hi, everyone who's listening with your ears. I wish I could see your faces, but I know you guys are listening to this awesome podcast. And yeah, thanks for having me on. This is a very exciting time for me in that as a former engineer, you guys probably know that we only write with numbers. So the fact that I'm trying to write a book, or actually we're publishing a book on October 12th. On Amazon, or October 11th, I'm sorry. Please help support. Yeah, and if you don't like it, recycle it or give it to someone else. Give me 5 stars, okay?
I love it. Real words on a page from an engineer. Yeah. It's not just a spreadsheet, you guys, I promise.
Close enough.
Good. Well, listen, you just alluded there, you're a former aerospace engineer. So take us back. Obviously you had a W-2 job and your big thing is ditching that. So take us back right before you discovered real estate and what kind of led you to where you're at now.
Absolutely. So when I was an aerospace mechanical engineer, I truly enjoyed the technical work, guys. So don't get me wrong. That was one of my passions, working on airplanes, designing, testing things. It was so much fun. But at that time, being like in my late 20s and single, it was so exciting to travel on the company's dime. So I eventually started managing teams in India, Singapore, China, and France, because I was working with Airbus as well. But when you are dealing with different time zones, guess what? You gotta wake up super early to catch those meetings. Then you stay super late. So my work days started going from 8 hours a day to 14 hours a day. And then I had monitors all around me to, do some, technical work. And I started thinking one day, I was like, crap, do I really want to sit here for the rest of my life? And if I do want to have a family, like have kids, get married, do I really want to be missing out on them waking up or putting them to bed because I'm working 14 to 16 hours a day? So that's kind of what started happening for me. I started thinking like, shoot, there's got to be a better way, a different way. And I know nowadays, like financial freedom or like retiring early or the FIRE movement is so much more popular. Back then, I didn't know what it was called. I just thought I got to retire early somehow in some way. And then my dad, unfortunately, he started getting very sick. So that was kind of like writing on the wall, because he had waited till his retirement age at around like 65 to retire, but his health didn't catch up to him. And I remember my whole entire life, him always saying, I can't wait to retire. I'm going to travel around the world. Well, unfortunately, when he retired, he was ill and his health didn't catch up. So I thought, okay, maybe we don't need to wait till we're 65 or 70 and wait for the Social Security income. So I spent weekends researching. I used to go to Borders. The store is now bankrupt, but it's like your typical Barnes and Noble's big bookstore. I would spend like the weekends just researching books in the investment section. And that's when I learned I really hate stocks or anything with that. It was so boring. So for those of you who are excelling and all that stuff, power to you. It is not my cup of tea or jam. So I was like sifting through all those books and I was like, God, there has to be something else. So I found one book and it was called Commercial Real Estate Investing for Dummies And I was like, hey,
They
I'm a
made it.
dummy.
That's awesome. They made that as a dummies book.
Yeah, it stood out. And I was like, oh, I'm a dummy. What's commercial real estate investing? I don't understand. So I took that book. And that was the biggest game changer. So I read it cover to cover. They talk about all the different assets, how to invest, how to analyze. And one of the authors, Peter Harris, was a former engineer as well. So I felt like when I read his portions, it felt like he was talking to me. He was speaking Pam's engineering language, if you will. So me being a little nuts here, I decided I'm going to reach out to him to be my mentor. So I chased after him. I was like, Peter Harris, wherever the heck you are, I need you to be my mentor because, we think alike and you can help me see the big picture. So fast forward to that. He worked with me, was instrumental in helping me secure my first apartment complex. And the rest is history. I was able to quit my job in 2 years,
Wow.
supplement my engineering income. And I thought I could never, ever get there, guys. So when people usually they say the grass isn't always greener on the other side, I'm here to tell you that in this particular case, the grass is greener. It's worth it, guys.
Can confirm.
Yeah.
Two people,
Yeah,
two reliable sources.
that's right. And so it's real. So yeah, that's my story. So basically, knock on wood here, I started out my company, and we've been syndicating deals since then. And it's been really fun. It's been a wild journey. And then now look at me trying to come out with a book that I feel so dorky about, but I'm excited about it too. So yeah.
I love it. That's so awesome. And so kind of take us through now. We were talking offline. You did invest in California. No longer, well, you still have your one near and dear property, sentimental property, which I'm sure is probably cash flowing pretty nicely.
Yeah.
But kind of talk about what markets you focus on now, and kind of
Sure.
just a little bit of what you've learned along the way in terms of ups and downs.
Absolutely. And so to reference the property I talked about with you offline here. So guys, I was telling him that I still have my first ever property I purchased with the help of Peter Harris to get it. And it's a 6-unit property in San Diego. So back then I was living in San Diego, and I don't regret purchasing it at all, because obviously that was like the jump start to this new life. And so I emotionally have a hard time letting it go. Putting it out there, guys, when you really invest in commercial real estate, it's less emotions than the residential side. But for this particular reason, I'm keeping it as a reminder of where I started, especially when I have, when we all go through challenges in life. It's always nice to fall back on that of like, yeah, look at the 6-unit and how much it's cash flowing now. I mean, I've owned it for over 10 years.
Wow.
More than paid out. Like I cashed out that property multiple times already. So I have so I teach a class on multifamily investing. As a matter of fact, I have one coming up in person October 15th. So if you guys are in Orange County, I'll be teaching in person how I secured the deal and how I made money from it. But basically it's called an infinite return. I have zero money in it right now. Yes, I have a mortgage, but I've paid myself back over and over from refinancing and cashing out. So that 6-unit is like my unicorn, if you will, guys. It's my baby, it's my unicorn, and oh my God, it's so worth it. But people always ask me, when starting off, how do you do it? I always say, try to invest in your backyard first. That's what I did when you're starting off, because I wanted to be able to drive by and honestly surprise my my tenants or my property managers, just to see, like, are they really doing what they're saying they're doing? When you're starting off, you don't know, anything can go wrong, right? So me being the OCD engineer that I am, I was like, well, shoot, I'd rather have it 20 minutes from my house so I can go see what they're really doing and then get comfortable with that. And then that's when I start buying out of state. And I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. You asked me a question, and I totally went off on a tangent. So
No, it's totally fine. I love it. Yeah, it is. That is really a great insight on investing in your backyard, because it, right? And when you really dive into, what it takes to succeed, one of the big things is market analysis, right? And, sure, like maybe someone in a city or something, but truthfully, the markets we know best is, like you said, it's going to be our backyard, right? That's going to make the market analysis easier. Like you said, driving to it, actually seeing it, which streets there are some markets, some of the top markets where one street can make a difference between, you know, a C-class war zone and, you know, a
Right.
B-class neighborhood and asset. So, you know,
Correct.
those are kind of the little nuanced details that you learn along the way.
Right.
And by, you know, kind of mitigating that with your backyard. So now you've obviously, aside from your unicorn, you're not in California anymore. So what markets are you in, and what do you pay attention to,
Got it.
you know, when you're going into a market?
Yeah, yeah. So I initially was doing only the West Coast because by the time I graduated from my 6th unit, if you will, started having a family and I didn't want to fly far from home. So my criteria back then was to stay within a day's distance of traveling so I could come home. So we bought in Washington, Oregon, Arizona, you name it, just basically all along the West Coast. And I would look at markets that were probably like, I wasn't afraid of doing rehab work. So if, to me, that gets my engineering brain excited to do hands-on stuff, to analyze things. So I transferred all those, like the skill sets over to that, to properties. So I didn't mind that. So one of the things that I would do, and you touched on it right there, you're brilliant with that, is that you have to study the city or the neighborhood you're looking at, right? Like you cross the street, you're in like a war zone, but if you cross the other way, that might be okay. And so those are the kind of markets I looked at, of just like, how are the neighborhoods? I made sure the infrastructure was there, and that's paramount to everyone who's starting out, guys. Like, you want to make sure the city's investing in that city, not like where people are leaving the city. That's a big red flag. Other signs are, hey, is there a hospital there? Is there like a college there? Maybe is it near freeways or airports? So that's kind of how I would analyze a new area of like, do I really want to go there? It's almost like throwing darts, if you will. But if you have family out there, it's even easier. But for me, all my family is in California. So for me, it was very hard just like venturing out. So there's a lot of due diligence, if you will. And you guys probably hear that a lot already, due diligence in financial terms, legal terms. But really, it's like before you jump into the city, like think of it this way. If you're going to move there, what are the things you're going to research first? Grocery stores, gas stations, things like that. The ease of being able to travel there. Like if you have to go on a flight, then connect to like a regional flight and then drive 3 hours to the property, do you really want to invest there? I mean, that's just something to think about. Some people don't mind, but I know I wouldn't. So, you know, to each their own. And I think that's what I talk about in my book and in my class a lot. It's just that everyone has different preferences. So to me, people say the competition is stiff. Yes, at times it can be, but when you're really looking at like the geographical regions, you can make it work. Like what you think is gold might be trash for someone else and vice versa. So that's the beautiful part of real estate investing. So nowadays, fast forward to now, my kids are a little older, so I can be away for a bit longer. I'm looking all over the country, actually globally now too. I've expanded to Mexico and Canada. I mean, then that's another like pickle in its own. So I won't talk about that in this session, but it's been fun. I look anywhere where the numbers work and it's not emotional. So if it checks the box, like a certain cap rate, I look for 50 units and above, for example. I look for, I'm okay with class C, I'm okay with B and A. I have strategies for all kinds. So it's fun. But when you're starting off, guys, just pick one type first. Get really good at like one type and then start venturing and playing with different stuff. So that's kind of my criteria. 50 units and above, if the numbers work, great. Obviously, the higher the cap rate, the better. But sometimes if it's too high, then you better start thinking about why. Is this like a crime zone?
Yeah.
You can't fix crime, you know, and you can't fix location. So sometimes it's not worth it. So think about those kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really great insight right there, because, you know, you can get, I love that you said pick one thing, because you really can get that shiny object syndrome, right? And as a podcast host, I am guilty of this, because I'll have someone who like trades notes or trades land, you know, and they come on and tell me all about like, you know, what they do. And I'm like, oh, yeah, put me on your list. Like I could do this, you know? And then I like dive into it and I'm like, no, 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 no. You're a capital raiser. That's it. You know, but you can totally, right? And you see people who are successful and they're diversifying, and you can be like, oh, I want to do that too. So it's good to just focus on one thing, one asset. Obviously multifamily is, I don't want to say the easiest, but I would say has probably the most instruction for it,
Yeah,
right?
I kind of agree with
So
you on that. It's the I say it's like the not sexiest like boyfriend, if you will. I'm like multifamily's like your stable boyfriend in a sense.
yes, nice. I like that.
He's financially stable, he's gonna get shit done, meaning like, check, 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 check. But like you want something sexy and hot, you might want to go into like retail, office space, or other
Right.
things that so you're so right on that it's easy to learn the techniques, but it could get boring. But like you said, maybe hone in on something first. Just pick one, because you're right. Like when I started as well, I totally fully admit I was like, whoa, this guy's doing storage units. Let me do that. Or this guy's doing like mobile homes. Let's go there too, or land. But it's like for me, I fell in love with multifamily and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stick with it. One day I might venture out, but guess what? I haven't ventured out yet. I'm still playing in this playground and it's so fun. And like you said, when you get good at something, you stick with it. It doesn't mean that you're not capable of doing other things. It's just you stay where I guess to each their own. Like for me, I'm the type that I would rather not be a jack of all trades. I want to be really good in my lane because that's my specialty. And no one can top me in that lane because I've spent so much time and effort investing in that. Does that make sense? I don't know, to each their own. The way I describe it, it's like you're going to a buffet and you have a plate. You can only fill it with so many things. So you get your favorite things. I wouldn't get salad. I want to get my money's worth. So, I would probably get like seafood or something, but to each their own, right? But yes, you can pack on everything, your salad, your seafood, all that stuff. But is it going to be worth it when you eat that plate? I don't know. So
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And it's funny too, because the irony is that, of course, like, subjectively, we enjoy what we do, but it is boring, right? It's a get rich slow scheme. Like you have to know that you're going to be in this for, at least 10 years,
oh my gosh.
and so like, obviously you got to find enjoyment in it, right? Find the asset class that you think you would enjoy.
Exactly.
But the nice thing is once you get going and you are really producing income, like you said, where you replace your income, left your W-2, you can be a passive investor in other asset classes. You don't need to go learn how to operate them. You can go find top operators in other asset classes and still diversify and still be the best you can be in whatever your respective asset class is. And that's why this industry is so amazing, is we can all help each other, whether we're, partners on the GP or we're a limited investor in something. Like there's always something for you to participate in somehow. So that's why I love this industry so much.
Oh my gosh. And you're so brilliant. You just touched on that. Most people like these days, and I know I'm generalizing it, but I do understand everyone just wants to do the get rich quick scheme, right? Because it's so much fancier. It's so much alluring, like it's appealing. It's like, whoa, I could turn this into a pot of gold. But guys, real estate is a little more slow moving, especially multifamily. So to me, if I can impart some advice, it's just maybe plant multiple seeds, because I'll give you an example. I closed on 4 refi deals earlier this year, when the rates were like really good. We had held those properties for, gosh, I bought it in 2015, 2018, like starting from 2015, which was the oldest. I cashed out. So many of the investors, they lucked out. More than 7 figures split amongst all of us.
Wow.
And more. I never planned for it, but I was like, hey, you know what? The market's good. Let's do this right now. And it's like, it's that. If I had told them when they invested in 2015, we're going to get this in 2 years. Yeah, right. I said, you guys are going to have to ride along with it. And when the time's right, we pull the trigger together as a team and we decide on that. And you're right. It could take up to 10 years, but be patient. It's delayed gratification is so worth it. Like an example that I tell my college students who are like my mentees, I forgot to tell you that I recently signed on to be the director of the Center for Real Estate at Cal State Fullerton.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
But doing it pro bono for now, just for fun, until we like can get a permanent person there. But the goal is to like create a real estate program for for the kids or for the students, and then just kind of connect with the community.
God, we
Like
didn't
it's
have that when
so,
I was in college.
I know, right? I was an engineer, so I didn't even think of that. But I mean,
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
it's cool, right? Like a lot of students are like, oh gosh, we don't have this. And so it's been really fun just seeing that. And I tell the students all the time, like, guys, don't lose your sight of like, I want that shiny new car, or I want to be like super rich already. Because these days they see me in my fun car. And I always have to remind them, I was like, guys, I didn't trade in my Toyota, my dinky little Toyota Corolla till like 20 years in. Like I drove that girl for 16 years. Now I have a fun sports car, but we all know a car is a depreciating asset. So I tell them every time, I'm like, make your properties pay for it. Don't
Yep.
use your own cash. And honestly, why would you put your money in that? Go invest with that money. So it's like, it's so much fun to kind of do like a full circle to just like say, hey, look, when I was like a manager, I still drove in my dinky little Toyota Corolla. I didn't care. People could make fun of me, but I knew, I was like, my properties are going to pay off in due time. And guess what? These sideliners, they're now asking to be part of the deals now, right? Like, I'm sure you see that where they watch you on the side. And then finally, when you're kind of like, oh, they really got it together. They're like, oh,
Yep.
can we join now too? So it's kind of fun, and it's fun helping others. So it's, don't get me wrong. It's just like, it's great when it's full circle and you just continue helping one another out. Like you said, we help uplift one another and we collaborate. So I could be like, hey, Jonathan, this person might be a good fit for you, or you might vice versa. And it's awesome. Win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, you made so many great points there. I love the point on, having your cash flow pay for stuff. That's one thing Grant Cardone harps on all the time, right? Is your cash flow is your play money. Go play with that. That's totally fine. You want to go be speculative, go get into crypto, whatever you want to do. Great. Use your cash flow for that, right? Don't use your active income. Go make your active income work for you. And then you can buy the fancy car, whatever you want, right? But so many people want the car right now. They want the big house right now. And, then down the line, they're like, well, what the heck did you do differently? And it's like, well, I still drive the same truck I've had since 2010, and I bought a small house knowing that I was just going to let it appreciate. And I'm literally getting ready to sell it because it's done what it was supposed to do.
Good.
And so, it's like those little things that people don't really pay attention to, and I'm sure you've had people come to you and be like, okay, I want to do it. And you're like, cool, let's do an analysis of your finances.
Right.
And, they've got a $500 a month car payment. You're like, cool, why don't you sell that and go pay cash for a car? Like, well, no, I don't want to get rid of my car.
Exactly. Yes. Oh my God. You nailed it right there. And so it's very interesting. Like, and that's honestly, that's what sets apart truly like those who I know will be successful in real estate investing versus those who may always be stuck in the rat race. And I know it's sad to say that, but a lot of it deals with like how your mindset is, right? Can you have some delayed gratification in your thoughts? Or can you set aside something of like, let's just say you do want that car, right? Well, instead of going out to get it, maybe start thinking creatively of how the hell am I going to afford to get that with cash flow? Then it gets you thinking about what can I invest in? What can I do? Right? Versus like, oh, I'm never going to get it. No, don't think of that. Think of the abundance mindset. Yeah, you're going to get that car you want or whatever house you want. How are you going to get there? I think that's most important. People forget about that. So yeah, that's brilliant how you just summed it up right there. I love it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I learned it from speaking with far more intelligent people like yourselves.
Oh,
So I can't take all the credit, but I love it. This has been so awesome. So talk a little bit more about the book, right? We kind of discussed getting started and everything. So, talk about sort of the process that you kind of lay out, all the way through, maybe your first acquisition, maybe getting outside capital. I know that's one thing that scares the crap out of people is going and asking for money. And it is challenging. So kind of talk about that whole process.
yeah, and I'll start with that because to be honest, that was the scariest part out of everything else, the whole process when I was learning, which is raising capital. But guys, this is like a skill set. So if you're like an introvert like me, or you have a hard time and trying to raise capital, practice and just kind of throw caution in the wind. What do you have to lose kind of thing. That's what I did. So what I did every day for that first deal, because I had enough, like a little bit money saved up to really go in on the 6 unit on my own. But the lesson was this: don't do that. The goal is to learn how to raise capital and play nice with others. So I purposely was like, yeah, I could do the easy way, which is I do it myself and I, can handle it all. But it's like, but that's not the point. The point is to learn to syndicate. So that's what I did. Every day in the break room when I was an engineer, I talk like crazy about it. And that's the key difference between like people who have passion for it and people who don't. Like if people are just doing it for the money, I guarantee you're not going to get that far, because you're going to at some point be burnt out, and because it's another chore to you. But for me, I was so excited, passionate about it, learning something new. So I was talking about it all the time. And I think it just kind of exuded through my pores and everything. And that's how I was able to raise capital. Like the first few people would be like, oh, can you tell me more about what you analyze? And then they worked with me on like different team projects before. So already my reputation was there. And I think that helped a lot. So when people are saying, hey, how do you raise capital with strangers? I tell them, honestly, when you're starting off, it's going to come from the love of your family and friends, like your close unit, your circle of people, because they've known you all their lives. And then it grows from there, but you have to plant the seed. Nowadays, it's mostly from others, or word of mouth, like a friend of a friend of a friend, which I'm so blessed and thankful for that. But when you're starting off, yeah, it's stressful. So in my book, I talk about that as well. I even my first chapter is about assessing yourself. Like you need to do a self-check. Like, where are you mentally, like physically, or for example, most recently, one of my clients, she was going through a divorce. So I said, hey, maybe now's not the time, but doesn't mean it's an end all be all. Like get that sorted first so that you can focus 100% on buying or learning the craft. So things like that. Once you assess yourself and you're like, hey, check, I'm good, I'm ready to move on. I talk about, or I wrote about whether you need a mentor or not. Now, for you guys listening to this, obviously I'm a proponent for mentorship. To me, it helps accelerate your journey. They're going to help you, prevent you from doing the common, traps, right? Like falling into the common traps. Doesn't mean you're not going to fail at all. I think you guys should embrace that no matter what. I've failed so many times along the way and it's fun. Yeah. Now it's fun. I mean, in the beginning, it's like, oh my God, it's not perfect, but it's like, it's never going to be perfect. So I talk at length about that, of just like, do you need a mentor? I say yes, but it's up to you. Some people want to do it on their own. And then I talk about kind of like your criteria, which is, that's what sets you apart from everyone else. So I have a little chart in there so you can try to kind of determine what works for you. And then I talk a bit about kind of managing the fear. That 4-letter F word is what I tell people. It's not the cuss word. It's fear.
The other 4-letter F word.
Yeah. I mean, if you earn that other 4-letter F word from me, that's because you really pissed me off. But no, but fear, it's always going to be there. And I feel like a lot of people think that it's intimidating to start off and then it gets easier. I mean, it does a little bit, but that fear factor is always there. It's about how you manage it, and you'll be like frying bigger fish. So there's always new challenges. So if you embrace it, it'll be more, fun, if you will. I don't know if it's that exciting, but you got to have some fear into it. Otherwise, it's not a worthwhile goal, right? If it's so easy and if it's so handed to you, you're not going to place value on it. So I think there's something with that psychology there. And then I talk about how to do a property search. I'll read a little excerpt here on my story. Is that for my first 6-unit property, I looked at over 200 listed properties on LoopNet.
Wow.
So that was just before landing my first deal, over 200. And out of that 200, only 10 made the first cut. So that says a lot about not giving up. And I know a lot of people are just like, hey, you've taught the recipe, so I should be able to find it on the first shot. No, guys. Yeah. It took time. So yeah, so things like that. I basically wove in my anecdotes, my stories, how I did it, and just hope that it helps at least one person out there in the world. So take it.
I love it. No, that's awesome. And that's such great advice. Right. And that is the thing is getting started is you need to get started, right? You've got to take that first step to get started, but we're not going to sugarcoat it. That's the hardest part, right? you mentioned earlier, like people waiting in the background. A lot of people are waiting to see the proof of concept before they jump in with you. And
Yeah.
so the initial stage can be challenging, right? And then as you get momentum, obviously things get a little bit easier, run a little bit more smoothly. But yeah, it's hard in the beginning. And that's why a mentor is so important, because a mentor can help you through that and help you understand that you're not in a position that nobody else has ever been in before, like.
Right. Yeah, we've been there. We've done that. I mean, even now when I consult, you're right. Like when some people ask me to consult, I don't always take a lot of consultations because I don't know, it's just because I love to travel more and I like being around my kids. But when I do take them on, it's that like, they're just like, well, how do you do it? I'm like, guys, don't forget, so many people have paved the way before us. So just roll with it. Don't be so stressed out. I mean, well, be stressed out, but like, don't worry so much, right? Because you're so
Use
right.
the stress for good. Use it for motivation to work hard, for sure.
And I think also another thing too, I've realized, at least just from my personal experience, is that even if you do get a mentor or a coach or whatever you want to call them, like you have to put in your own work. Some people think like, yeah, I've got a mentor, I'm going to be led to prosperity. Like, no, you have to do your homework. You've got to show up. You've got to do your like everything, right? They're only just like your guiding, like your tour guide, if you will. They're just showing you the way, but they're not going to go do the work for you. You need to show up. So I think there's a lot of misconception with that as well, that people think like, okay, so I've possibly, I don't know if like, for example, Grant Cardone's programs. I mean, like everyone has a different program, but it's like, oh, I put in money, I'm gonna be rich. No, you have homework. Like show up, do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So true. I love it. Well, it sounds like an amazing book. I will definitely be purchasing that when it comes out October 11th, right? I got that right?
Thank you. Yes, you got it right. Thank you so much.
Well, this has been amazing. Appreciated all of your insight and your perspective. Obviously very accomplished, so I love it. With that, though, we'll jump into the final five here as we wind down. Speaking of mentors, first question, best advice you've gotten from a mentor?
Yes. So from Peter Harris, who saw it in me before I could see it in myself. He said, Pam, one day you're going to want to give back. And when that time comes, give it with all your might. And I still remember, like, this is at the beginning of us just working together. I was just like, you're crazy, Peter. I can barely raise capital like to close a deal. Can't even see myself owning 100 units or more. You're crazy. Well, he was right. Fast forward to now, this is what I do. 90% of my time is giving back to students, females, helping like even out the playing field and just trying to make it attainable for people to feel that, yes, you can do it. And you don't need to be a filthy rich person to jump into this.
Gosh, I love that so much. That's awesome. What is it about your career that makes you feel like you're fulfilling your why?
Ooh, that is such a good one. What is it about it? Is that I'm slowly making changes to all my properties or the communities through kindness and through compassion. Like what really just like made me like bawl and cry was it 2021? One of our what is it, complexes, they wrote a nice thank you like card to us. Now the property management is kind of like our filter, so they don't know that we're the owners. Like the tenants don't know that, but they wrote us a nice card of like, thank you for buying tablets for our kids. Because, when the world was shut down, the kids couldn't go to school. They couldn't even afford to buy things. We were like boots to the ground, giving PPEs, like, here's what we have, like, this is what we could get. And so we were kind of operating a little differently. We were reaching out to people, doing wellness checks, welfare checks, and things like that. And it's that makes it feel so fulfilling, even if it wasn't like 1,000 units or whatever. It was like a smaller community, but it's that camaraderie, the family, and then that card just really like, I don't know, it made my heart grow so big. And I remember showing it to like our investors for that particular property, and it was so interesting how it worked, because they were just like, oh, we don't need to take the cash flow this month. Pam, can you just give it back to them and tell them to throw a big old like summer party or something and use the money for whatever they want, or discount on their rents for that 1 month. And I was like, guys, this is what true kindness is. Like, thank you. Like, humanity. Thank you for letting me believe in humanity again. We can make a difference. Small steps. So yeah.
I love that so much. That's incredible. Wow. That's
Thanks.
awesome. Favorite non-real estate or investment related book?
Oh, okay, well, at the moment, I'm reading this. It's called Wild. And it's by C.R.E.A.T.E, and basically she like hiked the Pacific Crest Trail solo.
Oh, cool.
So I'm only halfway through, but oh my God, it's so exciting. It makes me want to do it, even though I'm a scaredy cat going solo. But anyways, just yeah.
I've got a good friend who is a through hiker, and she did most of the PCT. So
Wow.
it's wild. I can't, yeah. And I love backpacking, like I do. But yeah, that's one. Yeah, that's one that's on the bucket list. But like, if I never do it, like fine, but it would be cool to experience, for
Yeah,
sure.
I think I'm kind of like you. It's like it's on the bucket list, but do I really, really need to do it?
It's not at the top,
Yeah, at
like
this
there's
phase
other
in
stuff
my life.
first.
Yeah, I have 2 kids to come back alive too. So I mean, that's why I feel like I have trepidations about that too. So yeah, but no, the book is really good, guys. So if you, it's amazing how resilient we as human beings are.
Absolutely. I love it. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Ooh, the power to read minds, because then I don't have to negotiate as hard.
I love that. So true.
I'll be like, what do you really want? Okay, let's give you what you want. Okay,
Yeah,
now can I have what I want?
Like you're just all playing all coy, like you don't actually know. You're like, what feels like a win-win? What if we do this?
Yeah, you want this number? No problem. But can you give me this?
I love it. That's awesome. Cool. Last one. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you and learn more?
Yeah, so go to pamscamardo.com and you guys can find me on there, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm on there as well. Or if you're on Instagram, Pam Scamardo as well. So my team is doing a great job. I'm actually on TikTok now. I am like a generation too old for that, but I'm trying, guys. So you can make fun of me. So I'm on there.
That's awesome. We'll link down the show notes, make it super easy. Pam, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. Very excited for your book and appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so fun chatting with you, and keep doing all the great work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching today's episode. I hope you really enjoyed it. Listen, I know it's cliche and you hear it all the time, but please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you know when the next video is coming out. Even though this is technically a daily podcast, it's coming out the next day. We have a ton of content coming your way. So please like and subscribe. It helps a ton. Leave comments. Would love to know what you guys think. And we will see you on the next one. Thanks so much.